Welcome, vlog number 34 on this Saturday afternoon, the 10th of December 2011. This actually might be a several part vlog because I've actually done this vlog now, or attempted to do this vlog several times and just could not fully express everything that I wanted to say about it in one cohesive vlog entry, so this might be several parts, and I'm keeping an eye on the clock to make sure I don't go over my 15 minutes, so there might be additional parts. So, in case you're not aware, or you're not involved in the talk radio world, or don't understand what's, don't listen to it, or whatever, there were some big shakeups happening up in Northern California at a talk radio station called KGO. And KGO is probably one of the most revered talk radio stations in the United States, especially today, being the fact that at present time, or at least a week and a half ago, KGO at the time was mainly a radio talk station. In which several issues were talked about, different issues about different subjects were talked about on a local and national level. One of the few remaining talk radio stations in the nation to have local talent in studio. And KGO has been a very important part of my life and my upbringing. My father listened to KGO, was a frequent caller to the Lee Rogers program, and Bernie Ward, and actually Lee Rogers actually had him on the blacklist. Anytime Mark from San Leandro would call, he'd get hung up on because he'd interject some sort of view that Lee Rogers didn't care for. So KGO has been a very integral, very important part of my upbringing. I continue to listen to KGO here and there. Matter of fact, on my YouTube channel, I do have a video with me and myself and Gene Burns going back and forth about 9/11 and the evidence that it was an inside job, or obviously nothing. Something happened that we were not told about. But anyways, the bottom line is that KGO. To sum up what happened, KGO over a week ago. Last Thursday, suddenly fired 4 prominent hosts that had weekday slots from the afternoon into the evening into the nighttime, and changed the entire format of the station from news talk to pretty much news and information. The station, just to kind of sum up what happened, the station was originally owned by ABC. It was then bought out by the Citadel Broadcasting Network, and then Citadel went under bankrupt, and Cumulus Media, which is like a Clear Channel, bought Citadel, and that was earlier this year. And according to them, the sudden change in format was due to the fact that the demographics, which is I believe 25 to 40 or something like that. I forget exactly what the demographics are, but it's in that range. We're just not listening, and that they wanted more news and information rather than a place to come and talk about the issues of the day. So the switch happened on a Thursday, where all of the hosts that were planning to do a show that day were pretty much brought together and fired on the spot. Engineers, producers, and other personnel were also let go, as well as some weekend personnel. Bill Wattenberg, who was on, I believe, 10 to early morning, 1 a.m., I believe, was let go. And he's been at the station for years. Ray Taliaferro, Gene Burns, John Rothman, Len Tillum had a call-in show, basically, which he's a lawyer and talk about legal issues. He was let go. Several people were let go on the spot. And instead of putting any kind of, changing up the format on that Thursday evening, they ran rebroadcast programs from each host without telling the public. This was done pretty much without any kind of forethought, without any kind of notification to the public and the listeners. And as you can expect, being the fact that KGO is not just a radio station, it is a Bay Area historical institution. I mean, it's a legacy in talk radio. KGO's been around for, damn near a century. I think 1924 was when the station was founded. And the listener response has been very vocal. There are several Facebook pages. Occupy KGO. They're actually going to have an Occupy KGO rally next Thursday. There's a former listeners of KGO Radio, which is a Facebook page that's just got like over 2,000 members, and listeners are upset. They're boycotting. They're calling the radio station. They're calling advertisers and telling, "Hey, look, drop KGO. We're upset. We want a place to talk. This and that, and this and that." So that's pretty much what happened as far as the crux of what happened at KGO. It's only been a week. There really hasn't been much as far as any word from any of the former hosts, although apparently Len Tillum does a like a podcast, daily podcast or whatever. Bill Wattenberg's been on KSCO, which is a Santa Cruz talk radio station, local talk radio station, which has apparently amazing power to reach up to like Sacramento. And Bill Wattenberg's been on a couple times, guest hosting. No word from Ray Taliaferro or really John Rothman or Gene Burns about what's going on. They might retire, but yeah, it's pretty much it's shaking the foundation of talk radio in the Bay Area, leaving very few options for talk radio. You have KSFO, which is also owned by Cumulus, which is a right-leaning talk radio station, but most of their talent is is syndicated. They're not really. There's very few local. I think Brian Sussman, is the only in-house on-air personality at KSFO, and then you have KSCO, which, like I said, is out of Santa Cruz, which they have. I think they have Coast to Coast at night. They have Alex Jones on right before Coast to Coast, and then they have Rush Limbaugh in the morning. So you have options for talk radio, and obviously you have internet opportunities and internet radio and so on and so forth. So, so there's been a lot of things going on, and my personal view on it is that as a listener of KGO, I'm obviously devastated. I mean, the historical and legacy, legacy impact that KGO has on talk radio is definitely something that's terrible. It's a travesty. A lot of these people, a lot of listeners to KGO, callers to KGO, look at the hosts and the programming not just as something to tune into, but family. And rightfully so. A lot of these hosts have been around for decades on KGO. So as a listener, and believe me, I'm not a fan of KGO's programming, all of it. I actually don't agree with a lot of it. It's a little too light on the left. Just kind of, it's a little too left-leaning for me. A little too mainstream for me, as I like programs that really delve more deeper than just left versus right. But I respected the fact that these hosts have been in the business for years. I've also loved the fact that callers can call up and agree or disagree. And it's great when a caller disagrees and there's a nice heated discussion about what's going on. I think when you agree, when you call up and you say, I agree, Obama's just a disappointment, but it's better than a Republican, I think that's boring radio. I like to hear people call up and have a real discussion and a difference of opinion. So, but I understand why Cumulus did what they did. I mean, obviously, talk radio and having in-house, talent, which there are still a couple hosts who still have, talk show hosts, who have spots at KGO. Ron Owens, who's apparently the highest paid personality at KGO, has a contract and can't be bought out of. And he's got a morning show. And then you've got weekend hosts. You've got Pat Thurston, Carell, who lives in Long Beach, same city I live in. I've actually talked to him quite a few times a couple times at the local grocery store. He actually told me a while back that changes were coming to KGO. Didn't know what, but knew that there were definitely some changes coming, and this was probably a couple months ago. So there are talk show hosts, but it's mainly, like I said, news and information for most of the time, which doesn't make sense to me considering the fact that they're saying, well, the demographic wants news and information. Well, there's KCBS, which is news and information and traffic and weather 24/7, and they've done a fine job over the years, and they're still on top of their game. There's KQED, which does kind of the same thing, but along the same lines. But it doesn't make sense that, this is about viewership, or not viewership, but listenership. So I don't understand the whole ratings thing and how this is going to be a step forward. I think this is going to shoot them in the foot. I think honestly this had to do with money. It's cheap to have syndicated, although there's nothing syndicated on KGO right now. They're doing information news with a very small staff, and they're just kind of working out the kinks, I think, and trying to figure out how to do it for as cheaply as possible, which apparently is Cumulus's goal and everything. They usually come in, buy a radio station, and then I guess run it as cheaply as they can. So I'm almost up of time here for part one, but I understand why Cumulus did it. It's cheap, but it's obviously a slap in the face of the viewers, or listeners, not viewers, listeners, in the way that they did it. But they wanted to change it up. They wanted to try something new, and we'll see how that works. I really don't think it's going to work. I think it's going to backfire when it comes down to it. I'm going to let it go with this. Part one done. I want to talk a little bit more about expectations of former KGO radio listeners on the next part. And I want to talk about the fairness doctrine and the idea of government getting involved in making left versus right equal, so to speak. So we'll get to that in part two. Part one done. Vlogg for 34 or something like that. And we're done. So we'll see you in the next part. Bye.